Nerdiest Prime.
They should have done an episode later on where Geordi does the broadcast thing, but then he forgets to turn it off, and then the whole episode is them on the bridge watching Geordi do stuff. It's like he's going to sleep, he's going to the bathroom, he's trying to
Geordi on the can.
Geordi on the can, trying to pick up somebody, but he gets shot down. It's really embarrassing.
Hi everyone, welcome to our review of Star Trek Next Generation, and I'm joined by the Nerdiest Prime crew, Alan O'Neill from Halifax.
Hello.
Alan from
Hello.
Halifax. and Namir from Toronto. Give me a ahoy, Namir. Yeah, okay, thanks. We've only done this like 37 times.
In one of the first season's more exciting episodes, the Enterprise crosses into the Romulan neutral zone to investigate a battle that has taken place. Riker suggests separating the saucer section for safety, but Picard says no, those visual effects are too expensive. The crew discover a battered freighter, which Riker somehow immediately identifies as Talarian, just by looking at it, despite it looking like every freighter they encounter for the next 7 years. Life forms are detected, and Picard thinks this is a great time for some exposition about what Geordi sees with his visor, with a new little gadget he is working on to share the visual feed. That's right, the visor has more capabilities than just looking out windows. It can see metal fatigue and suss out androids who might be trying to hide their true identity. Picard might want to get his eyes checked too, as he claims Riker looks to be an undefined form, but he is clearly a human with a Starfleet uniform on the view screen. And Tasha looks to be laughing at Picard's poor eyesight in the background. So Riker interrupts the visor Q and A, reminding everyone that they were here to look for survivors before this ship blows up, and they find a trio of Klingons just hanging around waiting to die, and just in a nick of time, Tasha beams them out before the freighter explodes. Good thing Picard didn't ask any more of those visor questions. Worf meets with the Klingons and has a meal where they tease him about being a Starfleet nerd and wondering if he still has any Klingon heart. Despite them being a couple of intergalactic snobs to Worf, he continues to befriend them and learns that they are enemies of the Klingon Empire and oppose the Federation-Klingon alliance. Another Klingon ship approaches and informs Picard of the identity of the Klingons they've rescued, and he sends Yar and a crack team of red shirts, gold jumpsuits, to apprehend the Klingons. Things are looking grim when Klingon Captain Chorus picks up a little girl from a mom who has no reaction to a potentially hostile alien warrior grabbing her kid. The security chief and her team seem clueless in this hostage situation, so luckily Chorus just puts the kid down and goes willingly to the brig. But Worf tells her that hostage-taking is not the Klingon way, like he knows every Klingon or something, despite only having met a few Klingons in his life. In the brig, Chorus and his underlings start taking off the belts to their space pants, and you think that maybe we're in for something kinky? But no. They are building a gun out of all kinds of clothing adornments and hidden doodads. You'd think these Starfleet guards might pat them down or something before locking them up. But the Klingons easily escape and kill the Starfleet guards, who act like they got their tactical training certification from a 1-hour online seminar. One Klingon is killed, but Chorus escapes to engineering and aims his gun at the warp core. Worf tries to talk him out of it, but Chorus wants to separate the ship and fly off with Worf on the battle bridge and accomplish what? No one is really sure. Worf gets tired of his threats and rants and shoots Chorus with a phaser point blank, and somehow his fall shatters the glass walkway, which is a cool visual, but would make a Vulcan short circuit with its lack of logic. The commander of the Klingon ship congratulates Worf on his ability to shoot a crazy person in the chest at point-blank range and says, "Hey, you should come work for us." But Worf is like, "Nah," and goes back to standing in the back of the bridge being a glorified extra for a few more episodes. Until you know what happens.
This week we are doing Heart of Glory. And what did you guys think of this episode? Let's start with Alan.
I really love this one. I always enjoy watching this one. I like the background we get on Worf and the status of the Klingon Empire in the Next Generation era. I know, say, Gene Roddenberry up to this point was kind of wary of introducing legacy aliens from TOS, but I'm glad they brought the Klingons back because, yeah, this one's a lot of fun. There's some big logic gaps in some scenes, but it doesn't matter for me. I just really enjoy this one.
Namir.
I really don't like when I agree with Alan because it makes for a boring episode. But I agree with him. I love this episode too. This is one of the ones that I really remember from my youths.
Tell me.
You had more than one youth?
I did multiple youths. So
Lucky
many youths.
you.
Yeah.
Tell us one thing you liked about it. Or one brief little snippet.
Yeah, I like that Worf finally got his moment to shine and be the center of an episode. I thought Michael Dorn did such a great job in this one, where before he didn't really have a lot to do, but they gave him this episode and he was just like perfect, like just everything about the way he acted around his Klingon brothers, and it's just great. Like when you watch this episode, you're like, okay, well, Worf is like a fundamental member of the crew. They're never going to get rid of him. He was just so good.
Yeah, I mean, this is not an episode that I love or go back to watch often, but reviewing it or rewatching it for this review, it was like a solid episode. And it occurred to me that it was really like the first Klingon episode of The Next Generation, and there's going to be many more. And it's the first war episode, as you mentioned, Namir. And you finally start developing Worf and his history and the questions of his loyalty. And I like that Picard and the crew aren't 100% confident about like where his loyalties lie. It's almost like there's almost like a human prejudice. But after this episode, they never doubt his allegiance again.
Yeah, it laid some great groundwork for Worf, like everything to come. All the seeds were planted there, and I just find this episode kind of, because they took a background character who had the potential to be fascinating, and it did make him fascinating, and I find that it just skyrocketed Worf past, for an interest level for me at this point in the series, past everybody else in the main cast. Like, it's like I want to know more about Worf. I'm like, he's so good in this. And it's like the other characters are kind of, and they're fine, but Worf is just so compelling that you just want to learn more, and we do, and it's great. It's crazy, that this is this opportunity to give Michael Dorn a chance in the spotlight pretty much just created everything that is to come. So it's kind of a touchstone, I suppose.
Well, especially given the fact that he was almost not in the show at all. That was almost never going to be a Worf. He wasn't. I don't think he was even supposed to be part of the main cast. He was just supposed to be like a recurring character, like the Klingon Marine is what they called him, and sort of in the background. And I think Roddenberry wanted him in, and he was in the script, he was out of the script, and then finally they were like, we'll put him in, and he'll just be there. He'll just be like, just to show that things have progressed in the last 80 years, that now we're more at peace with the Klingons.
Yeah.
That he was just kind of a figurehead character. But you're right. After this episode, that's when everything changed. So and it's a great episode, and it's got a great, like, on top of a great story, it's got great effects and great moments in it. So
now I'm beginning to understand him. Geordi, what's that? Over to the left.
What?
Yes, that. No, back. Yes, that, right there. What is that?
Yeah, it's funny. Like my favorite movie, my favorite a moment of this episode had nothing to do with the Klingons or with Worf, and it was at the beginning where Geordi is broadcasting what he's seeing through his visor, and Picard's like totally fascinated by it. He forgets everything else. He's like, "Extraordinary! Go look over there. What's that over there? Who is that?" And Geordi is like, "That's just Riker." He's like, "Wow, really?"
I know, and it's quite obviously Riker too. Like even when I'm looking at it, I'm like, "That's obviously Commander Riker." I mean, you can see the comm badge, his profile. I'm like, why would you ask?
Yeah. No, it's great. And then, I like it because you kind of realize, you kind of get a little bit of insight in how his visor works and how they don't really know how it works, right? So they don't really know Geordi's kind of perspective on things. And he's like, "Yeah, what's that thing with the aura? Oh, that's Data. Doesn't everybody have an aura?" You know? And they're like, "No,
He's an android.
no, that's just you." And then Riker's like, "Come on, we got to get back to this death-defying mission that we're supposed to be on."
I know that's like, I mean, it is a great moment to stop and really get into the visor and talk about the technology, but it feels a little bit shoehorned into the episode, and especially into that moment, because they just talking about how like they're at the edge of the neutral zone. The whole teaser is really strong. It's got a really good like energy, and the music and the tone, and there's an emergency. Let's go check it out. Let's go, and all this sort of stuff. And then they get there, and then we totally get sidetracked for 5 minutes to doing this whole thing with Geordi's visor. Even Riker is like, I hate to break this up, but
I know. It feels out of place, but it's so much fun.
I know.
It's so much fun that it's okay. Like it's kind of like it really just shows you who Picard is, and it would be strange if he didn't have questions about it, right? Because he's at his heart, he's an explorer, right? And he's curious about things, and I'm glad they threw that in there.
That's what, because I started to write some notes for this one too, and that was my first note. I was like, "Is this really the best time to test out Geordi's visor thingy?" I was like, "It's a great idea." It's like, but should we do it like we could do this like, later when we got some downtime, and then they gotta rush through this emergency, and I'm like, man, you had plenty of time to rescue anybody who's on this ship. The time you spent talking about entertaining all of Picard.
They should have done an episode later on where Geordi does the broadcast thing, but then he forgets to turn it off, and then the whole episode is them on the bridge watching Geordi do stuff. It's like he's going to sleep, he's going to the bathroom, he's trying to
Geordi on the can,
trying to pick up somebody, but he gets shot down. It's really embarrassing.
well,
then he goes to the holodeck and gets with Leah Brahms because his holographic dates don't say no.
Well, that did happen in Star Trek Generations when Louis and Vitor they hacked into his visor, and then they were complaining. He's like, "Oh, he bathed, and now he's roaming the ship." And I was like, "Oh, did they see him naked? Were they watching him in the shower?"
But that's weird. Their signal they received was just normal vision in that too. That's weird. Now that I think about it.
Well, because I think they basically just attached a camera or something. It wasn't like it wasn't like a feed like the way that.
Don't think too hard about it.
Well, I think the writing in season 1 is just so awkward sometimes, and there's that line Picard says, "Now I'm beginning to understand him." And it's like, he's not an alien. What do you? He's not a robot. Like, what do you mean you're beginning to understand him? Like,
I guess, but I think that line wasn't meant for Geordi. I think that line was meant to sort of be about the episode, right? Because he's also through the episode he's beginning to understand Worf, right? It's the same thing. It's that his crew is sometimes alien to him, and so he's trying to understand. He's learning. He's kind of learning, about them through what's happening. Lucas.
I find it a little cringy the way that Patrick Stewart plays it. We're going back to that pilot like acting, like he's like almost teary eyed talking about it. I'm beginning to understand him, like.
Well, it's not my fault you have a cold, jaded, stone-like heart.
Well, that's what, and then I kind of wonder too when I'm watching this. I was, why are they doing this? Because later on in Identity Crisis, when they had those that when Geordi gets taken over by the alien DNA, like there's a whole aspect of that episode where one of the away team members is wearing a camera. I'm like, can't they just wear a camera and then everybody can see normal stuff all the time? Why do we need to see Geordi's garbled mess for the average person?
All right, now you're asking too many questions. That's
I'm like, they could just take a normal camera.
But the episode's good, right?
But
the episode's good. Okay.
Yes, I still love this episode. That's what I said. I said there's logic gaps in it, but I still had a really good time.
Yeah, I have a lot of comments about the episode, or little nitpicks, which shouldn't reflect my overall appreciation of the episode because I liked it, but I did notice a lot of funny things. Okay, Namir, you beat me to the punch. You anticipated my first keyword, so we got that out of the way. The second keyword is buttress, set, derelict spaceship scene.
Oh yeah, well that's another comment I wrote down too, was because everybody on the bridge is watching Geordi's feed, and then when they're on the mattress, that beam falls in front of Geordi. It goes and it's really loud. I'm like, I wrote down, did everyone on the bridge just shit their space pants? Because I was like,
Maybe, or Worf is just like he's got a bag of popcorn. He was like,
what scene? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Oh no! When they start walking down the hallway and Geordi's recording, that beam like falls right in front of him when they're on the mattress, and it makes a huge loud noise. Yeah. And I'm like, and everybody's like watching on the bridge, and it's kind of like a jump scare. I'm like,
Well, they also had an opportunity when his visor goes out, because the battery runs out or whatever, and they could have like kept that going for another few seconds where they'd have been like, hey, well, hello. Like to drop the call and what happened, but they just as soon as the call is dropped, and we cut right away to Geordi going like, the battery ran out. Yeah, I'm surprised it lasted this long.
Yeah, and everybody bridge is like, what just happened? Are they okay? Nobody checks in.
Yeah, but it could have been a real moment there. But I really like that set. That's like one of, I mean, there's a bunch of good sets in season 1, but this is a really good one. It's like believable as a freighter. There's like lights and smoke everywhere, and it's so realistic that when they're in the warp core and they're just like standing there, I'm just like thinking like their nuts are getting irradiated. Like I would not be standing there.
Yeah, that's a great shot too, because you see like you're behind them and they're silhouetted in front of the warp core, and you're like, oh yeah, that's some serious radiation.
And it's just like Hollywood smoke and a couple lights. That's all it is, really. Yeah. But they just it's really effective.
Yeah, and I really like the music.
It worked really well.
The music was really great in this episode too.
Ron Jones is the man.
Yep, so good.
We're gonna talk more about Ron Jones in the future, especially when we get to Neutral Zone at the end of the season. Oh, did we lose Alan?
No, I'm just looking at my few notes about the battery scene, because because that's what. Yeah, when they get to that engine room, and again, I love the set too. They had great atmosphere, but then that's another just logical nitpick I had was that Data tells Riker and Geordi, like, oh, you guys stay back here. There's a lot of heat and radiation ahead, and I should go through. And then he goes through, and of course the door is jammed. And then he comes back and says, "Oh, you guys need to come with me." I'm like, "Why?" It's like, you just said we're going to get superheated and exposed to radiation. I'm like, just go over there and open that door and let whoever's in there act.
Yeah, but really, Data's like, whatever damage was going to happen has already happened.
Well, it's like, it takes. He's like so concerned about your safety, and then literally 10 seconds later, he's telling them, "Okay, I don't care about your safety anymore. You need to come with me over here and look at this." It doesn't tell him what's going on or anything because it says, "Oh, if Dave said, oh, the door's jammed," well, if Commander Riker be like, "Well, just go over there and open it. Tell me what's over there."
Yeah, what's Riker gonna do?
Yeah, because then he get over there, and of course, no one can open it but Data, so Data opens it.
Well, you know, and this brings me to my thought about why isn't Worf on the away mission?
Nobody
Because
got burned to death.
specifically tell they specifically told Yar not to go on the away mission because she needs to be on the bridge in case the Romulans show up, and so to me a logical like replacement for Yar is Worf, and then they say Data, Geordi. I'm like, what? So no, we're going from the head of security is going to go to no security personnel on the away mission. But then it would have allowed that kind of trope that happens in future episodes where Worf comes to a door and he's like, yeah, it's jammed. We can't do anything, and then Data just comes along and with a finger just opens it.
Yeah, he can't repair a Chinese finger trap, but he can open that door.
So okay, so I'm not going to belabor this point too much, but so I've talked about bad dialogue, clunky dialogue in season 1, and this scene that we're talking about is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So this is I'm quoting the episode. Okay. Riker says, "What's the safest route around?" Data replies, "All routes are equally dangerous." Geordi says, "Well, which one is least dangerous?" And then Data says, "There is no significant difference." Like, what the hell?
That's great. What are you talking
You're
about?
wasting time.
I love it. That's not clunky dialogue. I don't think that's clunky dialogue. I think that's just like a funny moment where there's two people that aren't communicating properly. That stuff is great. I love it. I think that's great. There is clunky dialogue later on, which I'll point out, but I don't think that's a good example of it.
I think it's just bad writing. I mean, I appreciate your view of it, but it's not. It's not played for a funny moment. It's like literally they're just like redundantly, repetitiously just talking. They're like the writer's like, I gotta put in some words. We're missing some words. We'll just say it again.
I mean, this is kind of an aside, but I don't necessarily think that good writing means efficient writing. Like I think that like that feels like a human moment to me. Like it feels like a real kind of interaction that could happen, and so I'm always going to err on the side of that. Not your clunky writing nonsense. Like all writing is clunky in a TV show.
Is there okay? I'm just wondering. Can you say one thing that's bad about the first season of
What's that?
Can you say one thing that's bad about the?
It's impossible.
It's impossible. Like.
No, I have complaints about the first season for sure, but I feel like I can't bring them up because then we're like ganging up on the first season. I feel like I have to defend the first season.
It's not a person.
With my life.
We all love the first
I come
season.
from a place of love with this.
We all love this season.
I love this episode.
But I'm just going to call it things
I think
that don't make sense.
I think what they've done with Tasha Yar isn't great in the first season. Although in this episode she actually had stuff to do, which is interesting. But I think that was a waste of a potentially interesting character. So I don't like that about the first season. And Riker doesn't have a beard, which is weird.
Well, and I was saying in the last review that there's a lot of over dramaticness in the first season, and you challenged me to give you examples. So I took down a couple examples. So in the teaser, there are a couple lines that Picard says. Like the scene is set up very well. The stakes are very clear, and I understand what's going on. I don't need any characters kind of commenting on how dramatic everything is. So Picard says, "Stay sharp, everyone," and then later says, "Everything about this is wrong." And then Riker says, "I smell a trap, sir." Like, it's all this extra dialogue. They're like, we got all that. We didn't need you to say these things. And it undermines the drama of the thing because it's suddenly like a sore thumb, this like underlying of like, this is a dangerous moment.
But I disagree with your premise in that in that dialogue is just about giving us information, which is not. Right? So I don't care if it's redundant as long as it feels natural. As long as it feels like that's something that that character would say. And for the most part, it does. Like, it doesn't matter to me if I already know this information. Like, that's not what this is. Right? It's not journalism. I'm not reading a newspaper. Right? I'm watching a show for entertainment.
No, but
So
I
if
just,
it's-
I mean,
if
I'm
I
not
can
think-
feel, if I can understand what the characters are feeling through what they're saying, then I think that's a good use of dialogue.
Yeah, and just
So
to be
it-
clear,
right.
I'm not like watching the episode thinking like, let me find like the bad writing or the redundant dialogue.
Sure.
It's sort of more I'm watching, and then I get something, I bump on something, and something feels off, and I just don't. At first, I don't know what's off, what I
Right.
don't like about it, and then I'll go back and I realize, oh, it's because this piece of dialogue is either it's redundant or this piece of dialogue is like undermining the drama by, because it's obvious that the writer says, I think these people are stupid. I need to tell them that this moment is dangerous, or I need to fill in this, like, it's that kind of stuff. And a lot of
But
all
I
those issues.
I don't think that that's what it is. I think it's sort of drawing an underline, right? Like it's emphasizing how dangerous it is because the characters have to voice what the audience is thinking, right? So that's kind of what they're doing, and they do that because the audience has to be validated, right? So that's why they say that stuff. That's why you have characters in a show that ask questions as if they're the audience, right? They're new to the bridge, right? So they're like, hey, what's that thing? What's this thing? Because the audience is asking those same questions. So that's what that is. That's what that feels like to me. So that's kind of why I'm okay with it, because I want to be on the same page as those guys. Like I want Riker to say, this feels like a trap, because I'll be like, yeah, you're right. This is a trap. You know what I mean? I don't want to just be like, I think this is a trap, and then nobody voiced that in the show.
Well, I guess the point I'm getting at is that later in the Next Generation, these issues don't exist anymore. I'm getting all the information I need to get, and they're conveying all the things that you're saying, underlying the points and making sure we understand everything without it being almost, it feels like I'm being taken out of the episode with this aside of like, let me tell you how you're supposed to feel right now. And that's
Okay, well,
and
let's
I'm comparing it to itself. I'm not comparing it to anything else. I'm going first season versus season 2 or 3 or whatever. Like that's
Sure.
that's the stuff that makes it weird for me.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
quite
and so the thing is, like, I feel like the first season is a transitional season between the original series and, you know, the better seasons of Next Gen. But the original series did that all the time. Like, that was that was their bread and butter of their writing, right? That happens all the time, right? But nobody complains about that. Right? So I just feel like it's a little bit like nitpicking because for some reason you guys both hate season 1, even though Alan loves like most of the episodes that we talk about in season 1. He's like, I love this episode. I really liked Hope, you know.
I do. I was like, all my playful teasing comes from a place of love.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, as much as I complain about season 1, it's the season I watched the most of. I get
Right,
the
because
most out of it.
because it's such a great season. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching it over and over again.
I find that way with a lot of shows. I end up going back to the first season in a lot of shows just because those are the seasons in most shows where they're taking the most risks, and you know, it's usually a show at its weirdest before it becomes a formula. You know, and then later on, sometimes it just falls into a formula. It's like still good, but you know, it's.
I think I mean, I definitely think that later Next Generation is much better, and I think it's more enjoyable in that sense. But I enjoy season 1 because it's campy and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but also
there's just episodes in season 1 you would not see in later seasons of any. Well, yeah, you wouldn't see in later seasons of Next Generation, and you wouldn't see it in DS9 or Voyager or onward. They're very specific season 1. Like Skin of Evil, that type of episode, you would not see later.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of. There's one in particular that is terrible that we haven't gotten to yet in episode 1, and so
in season 1, you're talking about.
Sorry, in season 1, yeah, in season 1, I can't remember what it's called, but we'll get to it. But they basically go to this planet, and there's like all these little drones that keep adapting.
Oh, it's next
Oh
week.
Oh, is
yeah.
that next week?
Arsenal of Freedom. The Arsenal of Freedom.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, Namir, you and I will be on the same side next week.
Oh yeah. Whereas Alan's gonna love it.
That one's kind of.
Yeah.
There's some things that it's the middle of the road where there's some things I love and things that are stupid.
But it would be interesting once we start going through the season 2 episodes to really see if there's any real difference between season 2 and season 1. Because I bet there isn't as big a difference as you guys think there is.
Well, we're going to see. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, let's get back into the episode. So, what I thought was interesting was the metal fatigue. I thought it was really cool that Geordi could see with his visor something that nobody else could see. He could see like there was the stress and the.
Yes, finally.
You could see the stress on the. In the metal, and Riker asks him, well, how much time do we have? And Riker's like, ooh, it's hard to tell. 5 minutes, probably less. So they have less than 5 minutes to find whoever's there and get off the ship. That's not a lot of time. And then they just kind of walk off casually, and everything they do after that point.
And then they have a conversation with the Klingons.
Yeah, it's like a lot of they're taking their sweet ass time, considering that they have less than 5 minutes before the whole thing just collapses. I'd be running. I'd be like, beat me up right now.
Fuck these Klingons. Let's get out of here.
One of the things I never understood about Star Trek was why didn't they just beam everybody everywhere? Like, why weren't they just like, okay, beam me to the next room, and then okay, beam me over there, and then they'd go through things so quickly, just be like zip, 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 all the time.
I feel like it's a big drain on power, isn't it?
I don't think so. I mean, they're breaking the
and basically, wouldn't it just give your muscles atrophied if you never had to walk anywhere or do anything?
Well,
maybe
It'd just be blobs.
I think
everybody would be in a wheelchair.
the real reason is it was constructed as a story device. That's very good, and of course, if everybody's beaming everywhere, that's not very interesting, story wise. But it's kind of like what they've turned beaming into in Picard, in Star Trek Picard, because in the older Star Trek shows, like, you got to go over to the transporter room, you got to give the coordinates, you got to talk to O'Brien, he sends you the ship, and if there's like, very specific situations, they'll do site to site transports. But generally speaking, you go to the transporter room, and in Picard, people are just like, there's like a little door. Looks like a metal detector, and they just like everybody just runs through, and they're like, "I'm going to the Farragut, everybody."
Like, look, I'm going to Paris.
And they're like, "What?" It's boring.
Oh, gotta go to Tokyo.
which I never understood that, because doesn't there need to be? No, wait a second. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, never mind. I thought I had a point, but I didn't.
Okay.
No point.
You just cut that out.
Well, and there's one of the famous tropes, and I wonder if this is the first episode that does it in Next Generation, which is like transported back in the nick of time. That's the key word. Transported back in the nick of time.
It's like multiple words,
Maybe.
though.
I didn't understand why did they had this complicated device on the Enterprise transporter. Each transporter room staffed by a transporter chief. They do the repairs and everything, like O'Brien. It's like, why the hell did Yar have to leave her post where it's so important that she stay there in case there's a sudden attack, and go all the way to the transport again when time is of the essence, and she's got to make her way to the transporter room to do the emergency transport. No sense to me. It was just to give Yar something to do when she should have been on the away team the whole time, in my opinion. But
send Worf down. Why does she have to go?
Yeah.
He's the Marine.
No, I understand not sending Worf down from a story perspective, because you want that moment on the bridge, right? I don't think. Well, I guess you could have done it on the ship as well. But I feel like it's more effective if it happens on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But,
So
but
a
I
bit more
mean,
dramatic.
but I mean, sending Worf down to the transporter room instead of Yard, that would also would have made sense, especially given
Yeah,
that he does that all the time later on.
Yeah, it would have made sense, but then they would have had to like Worf would have been down there, and they would have had their little confrontation. And it's like, oh, you're a Klingon, oh, you're my Klingon brother. There would have been this whole thing, you know. Meanwhile, the ship is
Klingon
exploding.
loving.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to do that
Well,
on
it's
the
just
Enterprise.
the fact that it was such a dicey transport. You think you would want your transporter chiefs to be in charge of that.
Not yet.
And it's like Yar barely gets them back. Like she's like, "Oh Jesus, I don't know what they're gone." I'm like, "Oh shit! I guess I can try to do this one more time."
I don't know. I never understood
Like,
why there
get
was.
the fuck out of here! And
I never understood why there was a
Brian,
person.
You move aside.
Why is there a person in charge of that in the first place? Why can't the computer do that?
I don't know. You can't. Computer can't make up for human intuition.
No,
Maybe.
I want Majel Barrett to beam everybody up.
You want her to be the transporter chief?
No, she's a computer.
The computer.
Oh,
She's a computer.
That's true. That's true. So, okay, what do we think about the Klingon makeup?
Oh God, this is sloppy. That's some sloppy ass makeup, especially in HD. Like those are probably
Yeah.
like the Klingons look fantastic in the movies and in later Next Generation. This is absolutely the worst Klingon makeup in the entire Star Trek universe. Like down to the wigs and the fact that you can see on I don't know what was it. Chorus? Was he the main guy?
I think so.
Don Armstrong's character, yeah, because he's like dark to a point on his cheek, and then it's like poorly blended, and it just gets lighter and lighter. Goes down his face. It just looks really bad. Like it's not even at all. But I mean, that could be just a result of me watching it in Blu-ray now. So, but
No,
it really stands out like a sore
It
thumb.
it was okay when they were like kind of far away, but as soon as they started doing those like really close-up shots of their eyes when they were dying and they were doing kind of the ceremony and they were opening their eyes up to be welcomed into Valhalla, then you're like, uh-oh, this does not hold up. there's some edges there. I think I can see a Band-Aid underneath.
And that guy that was dying on the table, they shot him. The worst thing is they shot him from underneath, like this, and so
Yeah.
you can see the makeup kind of wrap around his nose, and it kind of it stops like right there,
Just ends.
and it just ends. It looks like silly putty. And it's like, yeah, you're not supposed to shoot him like that. It's that's like you have to hide the seams, man. And they just shot it. They lit it, and you just see like, especially in HD, it's like ooh. But the other thing,
Yeah, they look like people who come dressed up as Klingons to conventions. They look like convention level makeup.
but the other thing too is that some people have just a good presence or good bone structure to play different aliens. Like some people look like really good as Romulans or Vulcans, and some people like Von Armstrong or Michael Dorn look really good as Klingons, and the makeup just kind of amplifies that. But like the other guy, he literally looks like he has like a mustache glued onto his face. Like it's like he's a spy, one of those spy. And
He's got these big glasses on.
and he just doesn't have that presence. And there's a couple other Klingons that are just really bad. There's that guy. There's the captain. Oh, in season 2, in A Matter of Honor. I forget the name of that actor, but he's just kind of like a fat guy, and they just kind of stuck that makeup on him, and he just does not look or feel like a Klingon at all. Like some people just look like a person in makeup, and other people just like they look like a Klingon, and Michael Dorn looks like a Klingon. He's like, you think that's what he looks like, but because he just wears it well, I'm waiting for Namir to say something.
What? No, I agree.
You have no sassy remarks.
That's the agree face. I see. Okay.
I don't have any sassy remarks. All my points are spot on.
Like he always sounds like he's like captain of the debate team. It's like Jesus, just get through this guy's defenses.
Klingon death ritual.
I liked it. I thought it was great because it was so you weren't expecting it. But the best part is when Worf joins in and everyone's like, "Uh-oh." You know, like, what's going on? And then, but so they do like the huge scream, and then they just kind of they're just like ah.
I didn't realize that they do it, but they don't really. Do they explain it? I know they definitely don't mention stove.
Did you watch the episode? That's
Like,
what I want to know. Did you watch it?
Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah,
I actually did. watch
Data
it.
explains it
I watched
afterwards.
it several
Yeah.
times.
See, Namir watched the episode. Data explained it on the bridge afterwards.
I did. Data explains it on the bridge.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's a weird conversation too. That was weirdly edited, but that's a different thing.
We can talk about that now.
No,
What was weird about that?
No, because they cut to that scene, and then Picard's saying something about. I think is that when he says it gives us makes me understand Worf more or something like that, and then they talk
I don't.
about the
I
neutral
never
zone
quite knew
or
him.
something.
I feel like I never quite knew him or something. And I was like, oh, this is...
Yeah, he starts off with something like that, and then they talk about that, and then they cut back to the Klingon stuff, and then they come back to the bridge, and they're talking about the death ritual, and it seemed like Picard's comment should have came after Data's explanation. It seemed like maybe they switched things around. It was a weird flow to those couple scenes, and that I just kind of, but yeah, I like the death ritual, and I like later on that. Well, I mean, yes, Data explains it, but then how they explain it more later on with that they're warning other warriors that someone's coming to Stovokor.
Yeah.
But I guess that's a later thing. That's not established here. And I think they say too they don't even use like actual Klingon language because there was like a ruch during production.
It seemed that way,
done, and it was just random Klingon words.
It's
like
it does seem that way when Worf goes up and he changes a couple of words with the captain, and he's going. I mean, I don't really speak fluent Klingon, but he's like, "Go chi cho ta." It's like
he's like, oh, something caught me.
That sounds like Star Wars, not Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of that scene where the Klingons die, and then Crusher says, "What do you want me to do with the body?" And then the guy says, "It is an empty shell. Treat it as such." And then they walk out, and then the shot just holds on Crusher for a second, and I just want it to be like a moment more. So Crusher's like, "Ooh, I can do an autopsy." I wonder what she's gonna do with the body. Like, think about that,
I don't know. Who knows? Take it home. Put some candles in it.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Summon the Klingon ghost for some pleasure.
Oh, is that what you guys are referring to? Put some
I
candles?
wasn't, but
referring to the sex candle.
Oh, Alan.
Oh, I love the second candle. Oh man, I can't wait till 2032 when we get to that episode.
Oh man, we got to go through these things faster.
Every day, once a day.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Okay. I'm going to nitpick one thing about and this is the internal geography of the ship. So, and because I'm a huge nerd, I've taken the time to look at the blueprints and the schematics of the hallways and all this sort of stuff. So I'm always paying attention when they're walking around exactly where they are. So there was a shot when the Klingons are talking to Worf for the first time, and they're having this whole conversation, getting to know each other. And they kind of go through the little lounge area. They go down a hallway, and they turn down another hallway. And then they go into a room, and you see in the room, and there's windows with stars. But they just went down a hallway behind where those windows are. And it's all in one shot. And you're like, why would they do that?
Why wouldn't they do that? Who cares?
Because
I did not notice that. I am not
What are you
that
talking about?
about?
They're in space.
The
they're
problem
not in space,
I was so thinking with,
if there was a window in that room, it would look down onto the hallway. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh my god.
my nitpick with that whole scene is this is what I was thinking of that whole time, not thinking where the sets or where the windows were, was because I believe that's the same scene where they admit to Worf that they actually jettisoned that crew and took over their ship and basically admitting that they're criminals and renegades. And then he's like, "Oh, well, come check out our engine room. Let's go to all the sensitive areas of the ship, and I'll show you everything you need to know about destroying us if things don't go your way."
Well, no,
It made no sense to me. I'm like, well, let me contact security because you guys need to be in the brig. Like, nope. He's like, yeah, that's cool. Let's just keep going with the tour.
no. But what's even funnier is the way that it happens. Is he's like, humans are puny. We must crush our enemies. And Worf's like, oh yeah. Will you give us a tour of the ship? Sure.
They had been corrupted by the illusion of peace.
They traded our birthright so they could die in their sleep.
A peace that makes the Klingon heart that beats within my chest wither and die. Is it permitted for you to show us around this ship?
Yes, of course.
I know it's like it felt like the Packlet Spy on Lower Decks, where it's like, show me all your Starfleet secrets. I am Torres.
Where's the gift shop? I have extra Federation bucks I need to spend.
Oh my god!
The Klingons are
Yeah, that made me
the
laugh.
Klingons are treated like the space bikers because they walk down the hall and then there's like a mother's like taking your children away
Yeah.
and there's another crewman's like giving them a wide berth and they're like
No,
leather.
that's great. I like that. I like that they're making a wave as they're walking down. That was cool.
And okay, so this is a reverse nitpick. It's an appreciation.
Reverse nitpick.
I really liked how full engineering was. When they went to engineering, it was like teeming, bustling with activity. It was like
I know.
25 extras in there, all like pressing buttons and.
That's great.
And well, I didn't understand this. Like, is there no security in engineering? It seems like there should be some phasers sitting in storage, at least for the staff or a security officer posted. Because at the end, they come chasing through there, or the and nobody stops. They're all like, ah. I'm like, I don't know. I'd be like, oh shit, that guy's going for the warp core. Like, let me open my desk and kick in my face.
I just got the impression that like the ship
Stop
wasn't.
it, someone.
The ship was crewed by like scientists and like military personnel.
But it's still a sensitive area. I think they would have like all the Starfleet security. Somebody would be there. That's their shift. It's like sit outside. If they could have a security guard sit out here outside the art gallery in Halifax, they could have a security guard.
I don't know, man.
sit outside
I've never
engineering
seen.
Nope, you gotta show me your.
Have you ever seen like a security guard on the Enterprise just sitting in a chair, just waiting for something to happen? That's never
I'm just
happened.
saying they should be in sensitive
I know,
areas.
but they're not. They don't show like security isn't posted anywhere, right? They don't. They're just like these small teams of random security personnel that appear out of the woodwork.
They just always show up 5 minutes too late.
Exactly.
I really like that scene where they go and to arrest the Klingons, and they're with Worf, and there's a real moment there where Yar really doubts Worf and thinks that Worf's is gonna side with them and take that kid hostage. And I really like that moment because it kind of shows a kind of like almost a flaw because Worf hasn't really done anything to like warrant that kind of suspicious. They're only suspecting him or because he's Klingon,
Well, and also he doesn't like immediately go over to the security team. There's like 30 seconds where he's just like
But he's thinking hard.
And then they cut to commercial and they come back and he's still like
This is a pickle.
I don't know what to do.
But it feels like that afterwards, Yar should have stayed with the prisoner instead of sticking around and chatting with Worf. Like to make sure they're not carrying weapons.
I don't know.
Well, they built it out of belt buckles, so having it.
I feel like if Yar would have been there, she would have patted them down and taken off all their superfluous stuff.
Yeah.
It was just because the rent-a-cops were with him.
Yeah, I think that was my least favorite scene in the entire episode. It was just so, and then the kid comes out of nowhere, and then the Klingon picks up the kid, and they're like, "We have a hostage situation." It's just so clunkily done.
You should just give her a big hug.
Yeah, exactly.
I love kids.
You're so cute. Have a Klingon lollipop.
Had this pointy thing I took off the dead guy's boot. I don't even know what that is. I'm like, why did they take that off?
I don't know.
Because it had the phaser emitter on the end of it. Because the weapons were constructed from so then it kind of seems random in the sick bay, but it's actually planting for later on. They needed those little pieces.
I guess I just didn't notice that was the same piece.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, is that part of the death ritual? You take a piece of their boot?
Yeah, no, because that's
never
happened. That never happens again, where people take pieces. It's like the Borg. The Borg do that. They when there's a dead drone, they take pieces off.
They take a couple things and then they disappear.
But the one thing that bothered me about that gun, and this is such a small thing, is that it's got the two barrels, but they don't have anything connecting the two barrels together to make it solid. So it's like when he's holding it, it's like this. it's like wobbling around. You're like, you just need a thing that goes there halfway and just will keep it straight. But it's like
it could have been a really cool weapon, but it looked like a Christmas.
I know.
A Christmas.
And thank God that they both got put in the same jail cell together, because there's like, oh, I have half a gun. The guy's across the hall. Like, I had the other half over here. It's like, oh shit, we should have really. One of us should have had both parts.
Well, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't get to see Dennis Madaloni.
Oh yeah,
get his ass kicked for
he just jumps out in the open
first time.
That was a.
So we're gonna play.
I did.
We're gonna play.
Yeah,
well, no,
I knew it was there.
we're gonna bring Namir on board. So every time we see Dennis Madaloni, we have to like do a drinking game or something like that.
Is he?
Or sing.
Is he like the stunt coordinator or something?
Yeah, he's a stunt coordinator. I think he wasn't yet in this episode. He became the stunt coordinator later, but he's just like whenever somebody's gonna get their ass kicked, he shows up. He's in a Starfleet uniform, or he's in some alien makeup, and whenever you see him, you're like, oh, that guy's getting his ass kicked in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and later on, he usually has a specific way of dying too, where he like kicks up his leg and falls down.
Oh, really?
Like he like when he gets shot, he's like, ugh! And he like kicks up his leg. He doesn't do it in this one, but I know in some other ones he does that.
So was he?
Wait.
I think
we did talk about him during the where no one has gone before. Remember, he had the fire.
Yeah, he's the fire.
Put the fire out in your mind.
Oh, is that him?
I'm so sweaty.
That's right. So was he the first guy that got killed, or the second guy?
He's the guy who stands outside the door, and then he pretty much stands in the doorway and gets shot. Because it was like terrible.
Oh, got it. Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Like, doesn't jump out the open. Like,
I got
you. It's like, oh, no, you got me.
Oh, I forgot there was two of them.
So I was like, why wouldn't you do that more? Give yourself some cover.
I enjoyed the phaser
or close the door.
I thought this phaser fight was definitely better than the one from Too Short a Season. I'm gonna just put it out there.
Yeah, that was terrible. This is great.
I thought you guys complimented that one. I thought somebody.
No, I hated it.
I did like that one. I like that one and I like this one, but it's still people are doing stupid things during it. It doesn't mean I don't like seeing people fight and get shot.
Yeah.
It's like you deserve to get shot because you're stupid.
Yeah, I hated it, but I didn't actually watch that episode, so who knows?
Explains a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk. Let's talk about the ending. What do we think about the ending?
The true test of a warrior is not without, it is within. Here is where we meet the challenge.
Living among these humans has sucked the Klingon heart out of you. I don't care what you look like. You are no Klingon!
Perhaps not.
Yeah, I like the ending. There is like a couple of cringeworthy moments, but I liked it. I like how Worf had to be the one that went up to confront him, and it was really interesting to me that he shot him without being provoked. He was just like, "This conversation is over."
I know, that was nice.
Yeah,
I like that.
It was great. And then he had the Khan moment where he goes and then the camera like pulls out, does the God shot, but it pulls out and cuts at the same time, wider and wider and wider. It was great.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It's like he's just monologuing about the traders of Kling, picking the meat from his bones.
Okay, so let's talk about
Is that so ridiculous?
Kling versus Kronos. What do we prefer?
Oh, Kling sounds absolutely terrible.
No,
because it's an actual English word too. It sounds even worse.
It sounds like a laundry.
The traders of Kling,
Yeah.
Kling rap.
It sounds like a laundry detergent.
Like, I will fight their static Kling.
That's right. Our clothes were so clean on the planet Kling.
We vanquished static from our surface.
And when there was static was gone, we had nothing left, so we declared war.
It just sounds terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that they went with Kronos. It sounds a much more strong name for strong warrior people.
It's like nobody could just like decide what the name of the planet was. Then somebody just wrote, we'll call it the Klingons, so they're from Kling. But also Kronos is
anything would have been better than that.
Yeah, but also Kronos. The only reason that Nicholas Meyer picked that is that he likes time. He did that movie Time After Time, and he was like, I like the word. I think Kronos is a cool word. We'll just call it Kronos. I'm like, what? Okay.
I don't know. Who knows?
I prefer Kling. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Do you really? It doesn't make any sense. Like we're not Earthons.
I like the cheesiness of it. Sometimes that's why
we're from the planet Hum. Those hummins. From planet Hum.
Did anyone else think that that Captain Koloth or whatever his name was? What's his name? Kronos? Captain what?
Which one? The old one? The old guy on the ship?
Canera? Was it
No,
Canera?
the main guy, the guy who.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Chorus.
Chorus. He looks like really coked up at the end, doesn't he? Like
his eyes are all like red rimmed and
It was weird that I like too that the Klingons were tougher in this one. Like it took 3 shots to take down that second guy, but then it only took 1 shot from Worf to take down the final guy. Maybe he just had his phaser fire. I don't know. And it's weird too. It's like, how did this falling forward break the glass? Like, I know it's a cool visual. It's very cool that he falls through 2 levels of engineering.
Yes.
But logically, it makes no sense. I'm like, he just fell over. It's not like he was propelled through the glass.
But not only that, not
like he tripped over a railing. He's like,
not only that,
he just completely crashed.
He face plants through.
Dangerous. People should walk on this thing.
He face plants and goes through the glass and then falls like 20 feet, but doesn't break the other glass underneath it. But you're right.
But it looks super cool.
But you're right. It was really cool. I love that shot. Whoever did that shot was like.
But it was like, oh, they should really put a grating in there or something like walkway. Now the glass one, geez, that's not safe at all.
Well, because I think they're supposed to be. It's supposed to be like transparent aluminum. Like it's in engineering. They wouldn't put glass in there. So
well, that should even be stronger. Had it's falling forward.
Yeah, it was just done for dramatic effect. But sometimes dramatic effect works. You just kind of buy it because it's kind of cool.
I just bought it because it'll look cool. We never see that kind of thing again.
And I just kind of I wondered how they did it, because it would have been too dangerous for the stuntman to fall that distance basically on his face. So I think it's like he just fell the last like 5 feet or something. And they did a cut or a trick or something like that, because he couldn't have fallen all that distance because he didn't have like, I don't know.
But it's weird though, because they're up high, and normally what you would do is he would get shot, and then he would just go and then fall over the railing, and that would have been just as effective.
Mm-hmm.
Smash Class is way more dramatic.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe.
So I love the there's like there's a Kunism at the end. It's like a funny moment.
Oh, it's kind of awkward.
Where the Klingon captain says to Worf, it's like, if you ever quit, we would love to have you here. And he's like, sure, I would love to be that. That would be great. And then he walks off, and everybody just like stares at him. And he's like, I was just being polite. He's like, no, I'm serious. I'm just totally being polite. It was just like, it was super awkward. But
he wasn't though. He wasn't though.
That
he meant it. He wasn't just being polite. He meant it, and everybody on that bridge knew it.
I got laughed as like when he says, "Oh yeah, the bridge just wouldn't be the same without you." I'm like, really? Because it's the first time he's really done anything. It's like he just kind of back there.
No, he's done stuff. He had that fight in the elevator, and they had that scene with Wesley in the last episode.
I guess, but it feels like Picard barely notices him.
he'll notice it now.
They don't really interact.
Yeah.
But now he's good. They're going to become friends.
He's gonna be his Jachich later. It's Jachich. Is that his name?
And this is also, I mean, there's no way to bring it up probably casually, but my favorite line in this, and I still love quoting this to this day to people, is, "Does it make you cheerful? Does it fill your heart with peace?" I love that. Like the way he says it, he got like this lisp or something at the end. Does it fill your heart with peace?
Does it make you gentle as it fills your heart with peace?
Is this something that
it cracks me up
is
every
something
time.
that comes up
I just love
in
it.
regular conversation?
If I find an opportunity for it, I will use it with people who know Star Trek. Yes. I love that line.
I'm just imagining you at work and somebody says, Alan, I'm going to go take my lunch break now. It's like, oh, will it bring you peace? Does it fill your heart with joy?
How that Klingon's mocking Worf, yet he just went to the replicator and ordered tea. He's drinking his tea, and he's making fun of Worf. This is obviously before they had their war dog or their blood wine and their cooler sounding drinks. Because like, I'll take 3 teas.
I noticed that too.
And he passes. I was like, you have no business making fun of Worf. You just ordered tea.
Okay, let's do our ratings.
Which is
let's
fine.
Do our ratings. Yeah, there's nothing wrong against tea. Okay.
Nothing wrong with tea.
Who wants to go first? The ratings.
I hadn't really thought of a number yet. So
Oh, we know what the number is.
11 out of 10.
Okay, I'm gonna give it.
It's my back pocket.
I'm gonna give it a 7. I really like this episode.
It's funny how I don't understand you, Namir. I'm sorry.
Why? What do you mean?
You really liking episode is a 7? Like, did you ever give an episode more than a 7?
Not yet. I don't think so. But the thing is, I'm thinking ahead because I know that there are episodes coming up that are awesome. So I'm saving the 8 to 10 range for those episodes.
Okay. Makes sense.
He wouldn't even give Memento Mori on Stage New Worlds like an 8.
I gave
7.9.
I gave that an 8.
You said 7. You're like 7.9. No, I edited it. I watched that.
I couldn't because the whole show is generally terrible, so I just couldn't give it an 8.
So wishy-washy with your numbers. I give this one. I probably would give this one a 7 as well. Again, I'm probably with Namir, where there's much better ones, but I had a lot of fun with this one. It's one of my favorite first season episodes. Don't laugh at me.
You just spent
I'm
5
agreeing with
minutes making fun of me for how stingy I am, and you just gave it the same rating.
Well, I mean, I think we're on the same wavelength with this particular one.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
You started off at the beginning saying,
It
I
happens.
love this one.
I do love this one, but I don't love it again. I know there's much better ones coming that I love much more.
That's
so.
the exact same
But I
thing
don't
I
hate it.
said.
But I don't hate it as much as I. Well, exactly, and I'm saying I agree with you. What's the problem?
I think we both know what the problem is here.
Anyway, I was going to give it a 7 even if you didn't go first, so, whatever.
You know what? I changed my rating. I'm going to give mine a 7.9.
You're welcome to do that.
I'm going to give this one an 8.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a solid episode, so I feel solid is 8. It's funnier if I give it a 7, but it's I have to be honest. I have to be fair to the episode. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Despite the clunky dialogue?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's really well structured in the writing, and it's a pretty solid episode, and it reintroduces the Klingons. It does a really good job of fleshing out Worf. I like that he talks a little bit about his backstory. He was rescued by humans, and he grew up on Gult, a farming world, and all this sort of stuff. And you're like, whoa, he's like a real person. He doesn't have a last name still after 50 years, but he's a real person.
I just
He's,
assumed it was Smith. Worf Smith.
Worf Smith.
Worf W. Smith.
What was I going to say of it? Oh, that's probably why I can't give it a higher mark. It's just because, there's characters.
Because Worf doesn't have a last name?
Stupid things in a few spots.
Worf...
No, not because of that. It's because the characters do stupid things. Like, this is not the time to play with Geordi's toy. This is not. You shouldn't be giving tours to admitted criminals of your sensitive areas of the ship. You shouldn't make your coworkers walk through heat and radiation when you told them that they shouldn't because they would come to harm, and when you could have easily dealt with the situation on the opposite side of that warp reactor or whatever. Just things like that is they drive me crazy when they don't make any sense. So that's why those things just lose marks as I watch them. They make me laugh too. So there's that, but in universe, thinking that these are professional scientists and engineers, I'm like, why do you make these stupid choices? But anyway.
But does that change? I mean, I feel like that just happens in the show, season after season.
No, I feel like they make smart, they make smarter choices. They feel more capable, and later on, I just feel like it's just a result of clunky writing. I think we'll find that they don't make as many stupid mistakes later on.
I'm trying to remember. This is not the first mention of the Romulans, right? Because they had the Romulans in this dog. They had the.
I think they mentioned the Romulans. That's why I also thought that was funny too. Because they say, "Oh, we haven't heard about the Romulans in a while," but I'm like, wasn't it just in Angel 1 that they had to do whatever they were doing there, and then rush to the Romulan neutral zone because there was Romulan activity reported?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that was just 4 episodes ago. So anyway, I found that odd. But again, it did bother me a bunch. I also think it's funny too how they try to brag up the Ferengi again, make them seem like a serious threat.
Oh yeah,
there's been Ferengi activity in this sector. And then they describe this fierce battle with the Ferengi. I'm like, really?
I know that ship has sailed.
It's funny. I had the exact same note. My note is they're trying to keep that Ferengi dream alive.
They're not a credible threat.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Just fire gold out at them from your torpedo launcher. It's here you go. Take all you want. We just replicate more.
Just where is our future? The things we've done and said. Let's just push the button. We'd be better off dead. 'Cause all